All right, let's begin. Welcome back to the second episode of Girls Across the Pond. Episode 2. I'm surprised we made it this far.
My God, you don't know what happened behind the scenes between episode 1 and episode 2.
Yeah, there were a lot of troubleshooting issues, but we're here. And we're getting it worked out. So we appreciate if you're a listener, if you're sticking with us while we figure out all the technical things. But we promise that because we're learning, that it'll get better as we go. So the more episodes we pop out, just like the better quality they're going to be each time.
So tune in to see it get better.
So tune in to episode 75.
Nice, just fast forward. Grab a cup of coffee and hang with us. We are Girls Across the Pond.
I'm Joan.
Joan, you're in England.
I'm in England.
I am Ellen and I'm in America. But where in America? We've just moved again, and I'm sitting in a room full of boxes. I'm sitting on a box in a room full of boxes. We have to unpack. But we are in Florida right now. Did you see the picture that I sent you on Snapchat of the gator?
Of just earlier today? Yeah, it was a big stinking gator.
The one of him in the water or on the grass?
On the land. I saw him on the land.
Oh, I know. He's huge.
He's pretty big.
Our dog is just absolutely terrified.
Oh, is she really?
She really is. She's just terrified. She keeps looking at us like, like, you're not a snack. I promise you're not a snack.
Yeah, just as long as you keep her safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Simon took her out today and had her on the grass just kind of roaming around. And I was like, dude, put a leash on that dog because she's an appetizer right now. But he's like, oh, yeah, the gators crossed the water. So we've named him Reginald. That's Reg. That's the name we all settled on. Everybody's like, Reg is a good name. He's been sitting in our backyard since we got here Saturday, since Sunday morning. He popped up Sunday morning, and that was 3 days ago. So he is, either he really likes it here, or he has spotted his appetizer and he's waiting to pounce. And I hope it's the former, not the
former. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I hope it's the former too.
Yeah, I didn't know we were getting a pet alligator when we moved here, but
you can train him to sit. Maybe you could do like the jump. I was like, jump up for a treat. You can train him.
I'm not touching that thing. He's huge. The first day we saw him, he was sitting on the side of the lake, and we thought, oh, cool. We're such California people. We had no idea. We're like, oh my God, grab a camera. So we opened the door to go out, and he bolted. That thing was so fast. I had no idea.
Did
a creature of that size. What?
Did you figure out if it was a gator or a crocodile?
I'm sure he's a gator. I haven't looked that closely at him, but yeah, he looks more like a gator to me. I think his nose is quite pointy, which is one of the telltale signs.
Just before we begin, I have a warning. I'm in the dorms at my flat, and the walls are pretty thin, and my roommate's playing guitar. So if there's some bleed and you hear some guitar playing, it's acoustic guitar playing, so it should be nice. But if you hear that, that's what that sound is.
That or Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, my roommate 2 doors down is always playing Call of Duty. So if you hear an expletive being sworn in the background, that's him. So it's not mass murder.
Nice. So we want to start this week with a chat about dreams. We have a lot of dream things, and you in particular love, what is it called when you wake up in the middle of your dream? Words escape.
Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreams.
The concept of lucid dreaming, yeah.
So chat about that.
I don't really know. I mean, I'm not really well versed in it. It was something that I was really into the idea of in middle school. But lucid dreaming has like pros and cons to it. I mean, the idea of lucid dreaming is just the state of being aware that you're in a dream whilst you're in a dream. So for a lot of people that can lucid dream, like without trying to, they just like automatically know they're in a dream. A lot of times I've found just by talking to people, I used to have some friends back in high school that could do it, and they all hated it because they would have nightmares and they would be lucid dreaming, so they knew it was a nightmare, but they couldn't get out of the nightmare. So it can in turn be very scary, but the idea is if you like you can train your brain to control the lucid dream, to the point where you would be dreaming, you would be aware that you're dreaming, and you would be able to control what happens in your dream. So basically you're just in this like cool mind world where you're just playing around. And I had a lucid dream once way back in 7th grade, only one time, and I spent probably at least a good 2 months beforehand like practicing and training to try and have this lucid dream. And I did, and I still remember it so vividly. And like one of the things in it, I won't go into the full depth of like my lucid dream, but I was probably like 14 at the time, and one of the ways that you train your brain is to do, if you've seen the movie Inception, to do like quote-unquote reality checks. So the idea, the equivalent that they do in Inception is the spinning top. Mm-hmm. But what you do is you basically, because your subconscious is what you are in your dream. It's not you, it's your subconscious. And basically you do something so many times in your conscious state, in your everyday normal day state, so frequently that it becomes a habit that your subconscious does as well. And it should be something that would not be able to be accurately replicated in a dream. So like for me, what I did is I just bit my finger, not like freaking chomped it off or anything, but just like pushed down a little bit of pressure on my finger. And the reason I did that is because you can't feel pain in a dream. So I would bite my finger lightly in real life so frequently that my subconscious ended up biting my finger once in a dream, and I realized that I didn't feel anything, and then I was like, I'm dreaming.
Oh, that's cool.
So another one that you can do is check the time, wait a couple seconds, and then check the time again, because in everyday life only a couple of seconds will have passed, and in dreams there is no accurate representation of time. So you might look at a clock in a dream and see 8 a.m. and then look away and then look back and then it says 3:30 or something like that. Like it's not accurate because there's no real concept of time in dreams. So the idea is you just do something so much that you make it a habit and you almost, in a sense, like kind of wake yourself up from the idea that you're in a dream. So I did that once in a dream. I remember it started, I was standing on this hill that we used to have in my hometown, and I was watching and I saw the scene of like a car crash. It was like a car that had smashed into a tree and it was like smoking. And I thought, I was like thinking like, oh, I should probably leave. And instead of walking away, I bit my finger and I was like, I'm dreaming. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I was able to do a whole bunch of cool things. So like I was able to like fly because I knew that I was dreaming. So I was like, there's no concept of gravity anymore if I don't want there to be a concept of gravity. So I just like kind of floated above the ground, but I wasn't walking, I was flying or whatever. And then I dyed my hair because that's what's important to a 14-year-old middle schooler. But it's a really cool idea. And when you figure out how to lucid dream, you can then like train yourself inside the dream to be able to do things. So if it's your first lucid dream and you're trying to figure out how to like make things happen with your brain and like to get it to work together, you most likely won't be able to teleport to the moon on your first try inside of a dream, but floating a little bit above the ground isn't out of question. So that's a really cool idea and concept.
Is it dangerous to force yourself into a lucid dream? I mean, if you're dreaming, you're in REM sleep, right? Mm-hmm. Or do you dream outside of REM? Do you go to REM?
No, you dream. It's should be when you're in REM sleep is when sleep paralysis happens, and thus you start dreaming.
So if you're not fully in, or are you in REM if you're in a lucid dream? I mean, because you should be.
You should be in REM sleep. The thing is, well, I'm not sure. I haven't done enough research, but I'll look back into it and tell you when I find out, because I'll definitely look it up, because this is just such an interesting topic to me. But I think the only time it's dangerous is if you're somebody that doesn't experience sleep paralysis, which is why it's also just as dangerous to be sleepwalking. Because that's what happens. If you don't experience sleep paralysis, you are a sleepwalker. Because that's what your body freezes you while you're asleep so that you don't walk off a bridge because you're walking around in your dream and you're not in the same location or whatever. So that's the only time I really see it being dangerous. I remember when I had a lucid dream, I got so excited that I almost woke myself up. So that could be like another thing. Well, like, that's like one of the things is like you're supposed to maintain a calm demeanor, because if you get so excited, like, oh my God, I'm lucid dreaming right now, you can literally wake yourself up out of excitement. The same way you can scare yourself awake in a nightmare a lot of times. And you know, like those times when you wake up out of a dream and you're like, oh, that was such a good dream and I just wish I hadn't woken up yet. It's like kind of the same thing. Which is like, I remember how I woke up from my lucid dream is I kicked. So maybe that was a sleep paralysis thing breaking, but I kicked my foot. And at the time I was wearing socks because my sock came off and it felt weird and it woke me up. So that was how I woke up out of my lucid dream. But yeah.
What is the point of training yourself to do to have a lucid dream? I mean, why would you do that?
I just really like the idea of it. I'm sure. So, I mean, then you kind of like play with the idea of like things that are hidden in your mind. I know lucid dreaming, I'm pretty sure, okay, this, I could be totally wrong. And if somebody that's watching or listening to this knows and wants to fact check me, that's totally fine. Please inform me if you do know, because it's interesting. But I would imagine it would be a good way to find like repressed memories if you had like a trauma experience and you needed to like try and figure that out, or like to try and settle some like anxiety. I imagine that could be some sort of thing that they also probably use in like hypnosis when there's like those kind of experiences. As well as, have you ever heard the idea of a mind palace?
No, but it sounds cool.
So it's it's supposedly, it's romanticized a little bit in fictional works, but I think it actually came to exist, but I could be wrong. It might have just become like more mainstream known through Sherlock. That's like his memorization technique. And it's basically like, if you have everything stored in your mind in a certain way, you theoretically would not be able to forget anything. And so the idea of that is creating a room that you know really, really well in your head. Like, I could do my dorm room, or you could do, I don't know, if you go to church a lot, you could do like the church chapel, or just like some place that you know and like in real life that you can picture really, really well in your head. And then in your, I don't know, if you walk up to a bookcase and you pull out a book, it could be like a cookbook, and you could have all the recipes that you actually know, and this is in your mind, and then theoretically you would never forget the recipes because you have them in your head in your little book. So if you want to remember what those recipes are, you just go up to the bookcase, get the cookbook, and you can look and see all those recipes or whatever. And sometimes, I think you're supposed to train your brain with like memory clues, like I don't know, like an alliteration, dog, or to remember some word that starts with a D or something like that. That's something I haven't really explored to full extent, but I know it's possible. And the reason it's called a mind palace is because theoretically you're able to build more rooms on top of each other so that you can just create infinite amount of rooms to become like a palace. So I could do my dorm room, and then I could do the recording studio, and then I could do my kitchen because I know my kitchen really well, and then I could do, I don't know, the school office or something like that. And you just have like all these rooms with all these information, like checkpoint reminders in your head.
Is that along the lines of a photographic memory? Working with that?
I think it's the closest thing that you can train yourself to. I did see this one video of a guy who uses the Mind Palace technique, and he was able, they tested it. He got like a 20 item grocery list and was able to memorize the barcode numbers for all 20 products.
What?
And then when he went to the checkout, he just told the cashier the barcode numbers. And
that
like
is crazy.
A barcode number, I mean, here's one I have, like, just conveniently, I had a book next to me. But, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's 9, depending on where you go. But, yeah, 9 digits, 20 different times minimum. And that's, like, a ton of numbers to just remember the order of. But
crazy.
He was able to do that. And do you want to know a fun fact? Here's Joan's fun facts for today. When you scan a barcode, you're actually scanning the white and not the black on a barcode.
Oh,
really?
Did not know that.
Yeah, that was
so glad I tuned in
Joan's
today.
fun facts. Yep.
I do a lot of that kind of stuff with memorization. I picture a lot of things, so I don't know if I have photograph memory or not, but I certainly, if I write things down on a list and I forget my list, I can picture what that list looked like in my head. And I don't always remember the things on it, but I can remember the shapes of what was on it and how it looked. Like if you write down the word salt, let's say it's a grocery list, salt, and then you write down peanut butter, sorry, I would picture the shape of the word salt and figure out what word that was. And the shape, like there was a small word with 4 letters and an L and a T, and then there was peanut and butter, and they have about the same letters with a space in the middle. I would picture that in my head and be able to pretty much track everything. The other thing I was thinking about the other day when we were talking about dreams, when we were coming up with this little thing, is a lot of people dream in color. Mm-hmm. I often dream in color, and that's what the dream is. Like I was in a blue Volkswagen, and it was all about the blue Volkswagen. But when I remember things and think about things, I always think in black and white.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Always. I don't think in color at all. Like if there's a list I'm picturing or trying to remember things, everything's in black and white. And I
so if you remember like a memory of like an old skating performance or something, it's in black and white in your head? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really? That's so interesting.
Yeah, the other day when I was thinking about it, I was trying to come up with things, and I was trying to think about things, and everything in my head was black and white. Like I couldn't think of a color, and maybe that's why, because I do interior design, when I look at it, I could look at a chair, and this chair could be blue, and I think, okay, I need to get a pillow for that, and if I step away from the chair, if I turn away from it, I can't even picture what that blue was in my head. I can't remember any colors. Yeah, I'm absolutely useless with things like that. I have to take the actual color with me, otherwise I can't.
That's actually really interesting. Did you know that some people, each person has like a different spectrum on how vividly their imagination can remember things? Like if I said to you, picture an apple, some people can picture an apple perfectly clear, almost like a photographic apple with the little glare on it and everything like that, like a perfect, beautiful red apple. I'm like one of those people. I can just picture it so vividly, which is why I'm such an avid reader. It's because everything, I just see it all. But some people can't picture anything, and they just are like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that.
Simple end. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why that is.
I typically dream in color, but I have a lot of nightmares in black and white, which is very interesting. Or like,
because nightmares happen in graveyards and it's dark and all you have is the
not
moonlight.
necessarily always black and white, but like I can think of like a lot of nightmares that are in like dustier or like darker colors, like tones. But that's also like really weird. I don't know, because if somebody like, if I have a nightmare that involves blood, the blood is very bright and like it's obviously blood. It's like it stands out or whatever. But like any other color, it's like very dark and dusty and either cool tones or like really dark neutrals or whatever. But then like obviously blood is blood. You know?
Blood. That's funny. Yeah, dreams are pretty crazy. Did you have any dreams that you had that are like favorite dreams or crazy dreams or things that you really, really remember? Like, oh, I always remember this dream. Because I don't. I rarely remember my dreams.
Any dreams that I want to remember, I write down. I have a little log on my phone of some really cool ones. But
of course you do.
I mean, pivotal moment was that lucid dream. I haven't been able to have one since that. And I kind of just like stopped trying. But I mean, that's something I'd love to try again. I don't know why, but even like since I was a kid, I've just always had very violent dreams. Just in
I know,
general.
and as a parent, that just stresses me.
Why?
Well, you don't want your kid to be going through anything like that. I mean, I told you once upon a time about, I'm a believer in reincarnation. And I was talking to I think it was my literature teacher in high school. And he had, I think I told you the story, you're probably bored of it, but he had it was like a nephew, I think. It was a younger child in his family, but not his child. And this child was having nightmares as a little baby. And most little kids will have they call them night terrors, because little kids just wake up and they're screaming and just sweating and having just a horrible thing. And they're like little teeny tiny babies. And this kid was having night terrors over and over and over, and they just could not calm this child. He would wake up, and when he was waking up or in the middle of his dream, he would complain that he was hot and he was burning and it was so hot and he was sweating, and he was screaming because he was so hot. And they did take him to a psychologist or psychiatrist, I'm not sure which one, and they had him hypnotized to see if they could calm him down to when just to get a night's sleep. And they somehow, through the therapy session, I'm going to get this all wrong, but this child, he was probably like 6 or 7 at the time, drew out for them the entire dashboard of like a B-52 bomber from World War II, and to explicit detail. So the parents naturally would think that this child had a previous life and went down in World War II. I have no idea if that happened or not, but this was my teacher's relative. So it's not like, oh, a friend of a friend of a friend. This actually happened to him. And that was pretty cool that he had dreams about that, and they were able to help work him through any kind of memory that he had, whether it truly was a memory in his body or soul or whatever you want to think about, or if it was just something he made up. Maybe he was watching Scooby-Doo one day and he saw something and it triggered. I don't know. But that's kind of cool to think that something could be stuck back there in the back of your subconscious.
I think dreams are always like one of my favorite subjects, and me saying I have like violent dreams is like, I don't know, it's like weird, because just like even as a kid I always had pretty like gruesome dreams, but it wasn't like, I wasn't like somebody that had a ton of nightmares. Like I would have like a very violent dream and I'd just like kind of wake up and I'd just be like, okay.
How is that not a nightmare? What's the difference?
I would consider a nightmare like me, not necessarily, like I don't necessarily always like wake up, like jolt awake from a nightmare, but like something that I'm like, or like it, you know, like I do wake up from it, or like it causes you to wake up in the middle of the night from the dream, is something I would constitute as a nightmare. And a lot of dreams I've had that is like gory or very violent or something, I just like kind of wake up sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the middle of the night, and I'm like, yeah, okay, and I just like
beheaded.
Yeah, and then yeah, kind of, and then I just like go back to sleep. Okay, so this is a very violent dream, so if anybody doesn't want to hear about, I'm not going to go into explicit detail, obviously, but skip ahead if you don't want to hear anything slightly more dark themed. But this is a dream I will never forget, and this is right after we moved into the apartment. And I did tell you about this dream when I had it, because you thought we had a ghost in the apartment, and I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. But I said this, and right after you said that you thought there was a ghost in the apartment, but it was literally the night after we had moved in, and I had just gotten my bed set up in this new apartment, and I fell asleep, and I had a dream that I was not in. I was experiencing it from first person of another man. Like, it was some guy I've never met before. It was no, okay, whatever. It was this man, and I was in his body. It was his perspective. I could hear him talking to himself, like in his head, like narrating, I guess, quote unquote. And it was literally how he was murdered. And that was like the dream, was him being murdered, like his like final, like, I don't know, 20 minutes of life or whatever. And the dream ended like as he was dying. And I was like, I woke up. That was one that was definitely a nightmare, because I like woke up like shivering, like freaked out. I could not stop thinking about it for like weeks. It was so terrifying. And I was like, I don't know if this guy really existed or if this was just some figment of my imagination. I don't know who these people were. I don't even know the guy's name, so I can't even like look it up to see if something happened. But it was very violent. It was very gory. And it was like so weird because I had nothing to do with the dream, and it just like happened. It was like I saw something from somebody else's life that I know nothing about. It was just very weird.
Why did we think there was a ghost in there? I can't remember.
Because Simon's bike kept falling, and we had things on shelves that just kept flying off the shelf and they were like not near the edge or whatever. And then something happened in my room. One time I thought I saw a person in my room, which very much freaked me out. But that was...
my eye is twitching.
But I don't believe in ghosts, so that was just like a weird coincidence.
Well, then what was it? If it wasn't a spirit, what was it?
In my room, it was the way the night shadow cast on my hoodie in the middle of the night. That's what that was. I was like, that looks like a person, and then I was like, oh wait, never mind, it's just my hoodie.
Let's table this for a future piece because we could go into this a lot. So dreams, yeah, how about that? So I wanted to talk to you about things that you like that other people hate, or vice versa. Everybody else is loving it, and you're just like, talk to the hand.
Both ways.
I would think, yeah, and I would think you would get a lot because you are an American in England.
Oh my gosh.
You'd be like, yeah, every American likes that. And other people are like, not so much. Do you have any of those?
I don't know specifically if it's like me being an American. Though just being here, like, and people like find out, like when I met people like a lot for the first time, a lot of people asked if I was a Trump supporter, and a lot of people asked if I owned a gun. Those were like the two main things. Yeah, like immediately, first things was like, oh, you're American, so do you support Trump? Do you own a gun? And I was like, well, wow, hi, nice to meet you too. What's your major? It was just like something I got asked like right away. I don't think there's anything that's like, just because I'm American, I like this and everybody else hates it. I can think about things that are specific to my personality, but none that's like American or British, vice versa. Oh, wait, no, I can't think of one. I don't like chocolate oranges, and those are really big out here.
Ooh, delicious.
Yeah, but that's not just a British thing, but it's a very British thing. It's a very liked snack out here. And that's just not my thing.
TV shows? Right now, Bridgerton is a TV show that's on, I think it's on Netflix or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's hugely popular. And I watched the first episode, and I was like, I am so not interested in this. First of all, it wasn't historically accurate. So that in and of itself makes me
Called out.
Called out, man. I mean, it just... I don't know. Everybody's like, ooh, season 2. They're signed on for extra season. I could not care less. I have the people out there talked about Bridgerton.
I haven't heard much, but granted, we are still in lockdown, so I've only talked to the same 3 people. So I don't really know. I don't really watch that because me and my flatmate, who actually watch stuff together, we're always watching anime, so can't say I have much experience in that area, unfortunately.
You gotta say the sports. I mean, there's a lot of people who didn't even know the Super Bowl was just happening. And,
I was one of them, and I'm American.
Do you own a gun?
Really.
Super Bowl's great. It was just one in Tampa Bay, and we are just an hour south of that, really. So that's great. We're in Super Bowl territory here. Ooh, I had to root for Tom Brady this year, and I didn't really want to do that. Everybody loves Tom Brady. I do not like Tom Brady.
There's one of yours for you.
Just my thing. I know. I think, I do have to give people credit for growth, and I think like most people, me included, that as you're younger, you're a little hot-headed and arrogant about things that you can or can't do or whatever. So you have an ego about you, and he is definitely, I mean, I don't like him, but you can't call him out for being a bad athlete. He is probably one of the all-time 5 top athletes ever in the history of ever. But I didn't like him, but I think he's softening a bit, which is nice. I do think it's funny that in the UK, that most people don't know anything about American football or baseball, and yet we have a World Series. But people there have no idea. And occasionally they'll do an NFL football game in the UK, which is very nice to see all the support. If you go through the tube and people are wearing any kind of football jersey, any kind whatsoever. It doesn't matter if it's AFC or NFC or what teams, if they're crosstown rivals or what, but they're just wearing a football jersey. And the people down in London are crazy excited about NFL football, which is great to see that kind of support. Because I think if World Cup soccer came here to America, it would get mediocre publicity. I think most people would be like, yeah, who's that guy? I don't know, whatever. What about music trends? People who are supposed to be really fabulous that you're like, I don't get it.
Or I have one that like I love, that I am a huge K-pop fan, and you know this so well, almost better than anyone, but I would say Erin knows better because I never shut up about it to her. But I'm a huge K-pop fan, and K-pop fans get horrible reps, and they get crapped on all the time. And it's like not I don't want to say it's not a trendy thing to like K-pop. It's definitely getting more mainstream than it was a couple years ago. But that being said, I do think it is still kind of frowned upon.
Why?
I think K-pop fans kind of get pigeonholed the same way like boy band fangirls were.
That's what I think
like
about it, yeah.
A lot of like One Direction, huge fangirls, like swoon kind of thing. It's the same like kind of pigeonholing. And I think that is very much seen because K-pop is definitely targeted towards a younger audience. Like me and my best friend, who's my age as well, we're both really big K-pop fans, and we're like in the older group of K-pop fans. So, I mean, it's oriented towards younger girls. Like, that's what it is oriented to. So that's probably why people get that idea, is like 13, 14 is like a really common age to like be really into K-pop. Especially because the K-pop idols are so young. Like, I mean, BTS is an not like an old group, an older group. They're one of the senior groups in K-pop, and I mean, like, the youngest or the oldest member just turned 29. Like, so like K-pop groups, like, they're so young. There are K-pop idols that are like currently debuted and like successful, like really well-known K-pop idols that are younger than I am, and that's scary to think about.
Yeah, what about movies and TV shows and things? Do you for a while everybody's all about the Marvel stuff, and Star Wars in particular. I know that's not Marvel, but Star Wars in particular, people are crazy about Star Wars. You gotta go see the movie on the night it was released and all that. And I saw one Star Wars movie. No, I think I saw a second one. I couldn't tell you what it was. I don't even remember. And it was funny because I went back to work on Monday after seeing it over the weekend, and a bunch of my workmates were like, "Oh, what did you think?" And I thought, it was okay. And they said, "Do you think so-and-so, blah, blah, blah," whatever. I was so checked out on that movie. I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
I feel
Star
like
Wars, not my thing.
I'm not a Star Wars person either. I haven't seen Star Wars. I honestly, like, I don't know anything about it. It's just not my shindig. I don't really like a ton of space related. I don't like space things at all. I hate space, so I would not like it. I know that. I just don't, it doesn't click for me. The giant fuzzy bear I'm out. I'm already out. there's a fuzzy bear that they fly around in space with. I'm
Chewbacca.
already upsetting so many Star Wars fans. But they fly around space with a giant fuzzy bear who literally growls. He just like yawns like freaking Bigfoot does, and they can all understand him. How do they understand that? The bear's like, "Wah!" And they're like, "Good point. Let's do that." And I was like, "What did he say?"
I know. I'm out on Star Wars. Not doing it.
To play devil's advocate, people also I know people that have both sides of those opinions with Harry Potter too, and I'm a huge Harry Potter lover.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, they literally are wizards who go to magic school and wave wands around, like they wave sticks at each other and lights flash. So like I know people that don't like Harry Potter. And I don't agree with their opinion, but I can respect it, so
respect mine.
One show that I just, like, I couldn't get into, I tried to get into it, and I just couldn't, was Stranger Things.
I'm not going to say Doctor Who.
I'm not gonna bash Stranger Things, because I don't think it needs to be bashed, but I couldn't,
Stranger Things.
No, I have never gotten into it. Simon likes Stranger Things.
Really?
I haven't even, I've watched 4 episodes. I couldn't keep going. I literally was like, I'm so bored that I got on my phone halfway through like episode 2, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. It's like, it was just on in the background. Yeah, I just like, I couldn't follow it. It couldn't hook me. So yeah. I'm still somebody that like a book can do way better than a movie can for me, or any sort of visual representation. I was thinking about that the other day because I'm somebody that like when I read, I can picture everything that happens so well in my head. And I mean, there's pros and cons to both forms of media, I guess, of the book and the movie, because the book, you have you never know if what you picture is what the author wants you to picture. You never know. Different. You know, you could be reading some character's intonation completely wrong. One time, I read a character's accent British, like, the entire series, and I found out he was American, and I was like, I've been reading this wrong the whole time. But, I mean, that's just, like, how I read the character. But, like, I find more comfort in that than the idea, like, who knows? I get more disappointed if I go to a movie and the character doesn't look or sound like what I thought they would sound like in the book. So, I mean, personally, I'm just somebody that, like, the words move me more than the pictures do. So, I'm somebody that, as long as it's a book, I'm more satisfied. So, I'm, like, more inclined to like it.
So I'm good, yeah. What about food? Is there certain kinds of foods that people like that you're like, why don't I like this? This is supposed to be the big thing. I personally do not like ice cream. I have trouble with dairy anyways, but I don't like ice cream. And people always
used to
like ice cream.
Yeah, no. I used to be like on and off with it. I was like, I can be in the mood for ice cream sometimes, but since I moved out, I've just been hyped up on ice cream. Like
really?
When I moved out, like not so much like right when I moved out, but probably around like November, December, I just all of a sudden like started craving ice cream. And like me and my flatmate like used to get ice cream like all the time last semester, and we'd be like, want to go get ice cream? And I honestly like, it's probably a good thing that the only other meal I had was porridge, because I probably like compensated for a lot of weight in like losing it in porridge and putting it right back on in ice cream. Like,
I don't even understand what's so good about ice cream. First of all, it's cold. I don't like cold things.
Oh, I love cold.
I drink beverages without ice because I don't like ice. So it's cold, so that's bad. It's not sweet, is it? It's not like...
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I don't really
depends
think
what
so.
flavor you
I would
get.
rather...
Go ahead. It just depends what flavor you get.
I'm not getting any flavor because I don't like it.
Okay.
Okay, I know. Dad's always like, you know what, you want to go get an ice cream? Let's start with Dairy Queen. I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. I'll sit in the car. I know I'm kind of a killjoy on that. I don't like ice cream.
I'm a big fan of porridge, like I just said, which is oatmeal in the United States. There's a name difference. I love it with my whole heart. And it's not very hyped up across the world. I know pretty much every person I know makes fun of me for liking porridge as much as I do. There will always be porridge in my pantry. And not just that, like, I don't just get, like, Quaker. I have, like, a giant thing of, like, real Scottish oats. And I, like, scoop my oats into the bowl, and I make porridge with water, which apparently is also weird. Apparently you're supposed to do it with milk. I didn't know that. I've always made it with water. But I heat up my water, and I pour it in, and I'm like, yeah, add a little brown sugar on top of that. Perfection. And you know what? It's ready in minutes. Sometimes
and it's
seconds.
Cheap. Yeah.
It's cheap, and it's decently healthy for all the other crap that you can put in your body for today's day and age.
So a lot of college students, while they're doing their bowls of ramen noodles,
I'm doing porridge. Joan is doing porridge.
Porridge.
Curb the freshman 15.
Yeah, you did. Any other kind of foods that, like, people are just, like, all about?
Well,
I don't know.
I can't have any peanut foods because I have a life-threatening peanut allergy. And because of that, I can't have Chick-fil-A, I can't have Nutella, I can't have M&Ms, and all three of those are very hyped up. So I'll never understand the hype because I'll never know the hype around those three things.
Peanut M&Ms are okay, but regular M&Ms, no. I don't have much of a sweet tooth. I think I'd rather have a garlic Triscuit with a little bit of ham and cheese on it. Oh, that sounds good.
I have a massive sweet tooth, so I can't relate.
It used to be, when I was college age, I would certainly call a Snickers lunch. And my girlfriend and I used to skate at the evening. We'd do whatever we had to do during the day, and then we'd meet at the rink at night, and then we'd skate for like 4 hours. And we'd like burn so many calories. We were just sticks at that time. And then we would drive home together, and we would always, so bad, we would stop at like a 7-Eleven or whatever and get some cookie dough and a container of milk, and we would split it in the car on the way home. So we'd like take a bite. Finish. You get the cookie dough in the big long tubes. You just kind of nosh on a bite and hand it to the other person, and go on the milk and hand that. And we would just that'd be dinner.
You know, similarly to that, like I feel like everybody, unless you're like a super healthy eater, has had like one thing like that where like it's like a common routine. And mine was in 8th grade. My best friend and I, every day for lunch, we would get our lunch and we'd sit together and we'd fangirl about 5 Sauce. Like that's like all we did. And we used to get pizza and the bag of Ruffles sour cream and cheddar and apple juice. And then if like this one wasn't a daily occurrence, but sometimes we'd even get a sugar cookie on top of that. And I genuinely neither of us were like, I mean, I was a competitive tennis player at the time, but both of us were like absolute rails, and I genuinely have no clue how we didn't gain any weight from that, or like a ton of weight from that. We might have. I mean, I don't know. But, like, we were both so thin at the time. And, like, every day we were just eating junk. And I don't know how that happened.
Because puberty hadn't hit yet.
Yeah, it did. I was in 8th grade. I had already gone through puberty at that time.
Oh, okay. I was the same. Most of the time you can eat whatever you want.
Yeah, I was like, I did not know how that worked.
We have, just a little transition here. We have an Instagram page set up. Please feel free to follow it, Girls Across the Pond on Instagram, and we'll have some pictures there. And feel free to comment on any of your things that you may... I just heard my American accent so strong when I said that. Y-E-R. Yeah, any of your things that you love that other people hate or whatever, I'd love to hear from you. That'd be fun. Any kinds of things that you like and other people don't like, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, I wrote down, the last thing I wrote down here was scheduling and organization, and I think I did that because I was so impressed with you, my darling, as you started the new year. Actually, I think you started to do it last year, writing your little schedule out and color coding it and doing all sorts of cool things. I thought that was wonderful, and you need to share that. Because college kids get off track.
I'll take it off my wall. I have it blue tacked up right now. But I like to dun, 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 dun. So something that like works for me is I need to like dedicate specific amounts of time each day to do the things that I want to get done. I know that like if it's just like, oh, I want to study Korean today, I probably won't do it unless I literally make sure I'm like, okay, from 1 to 2 I'm going to study Korean or whatever. If I just say I want to do it, it'll get put on the back burner and I won't do it. Because I'll end up watching Netflix instead. That's just like how my brain works. So this is what I have organized. So it's just Monday through Friday, and it looks terrifying, but I swear it's not as scary as you might think.
It looks
but basically,
very busy.
it does. But I leave food for meals, and like there's some of these like are like really really loose. Like, it starts at 8 in the morning and it goes until 7 at night. So
Now,
it's a pretty full day.
Let me ask you, why do you write it out rather than using a planner?
I have it on my phone as well. I just like the visual representation. I am just somebody, I think, in general that prefers paper to pen.
Okay, I use a planner, and I like the apps that are on, whether you go to Apple or Google Play or whatever. But there's so many great apps, and I use one called AnyPlan, which I think is the best planner I have ever seen, because it has your day, your week, your month, blah, blah, blah. You write your notes, you can tag your notes, you can categorize your notes, you can color code your notes. You can also write all your tasks. They forward immediately. If you miss something, it automatically shows up on the next day with a red reschedule notification, so you can see what you missed doing yesterday. It's highlighted for you. I'm a real advocate that any sort of system like that needs to work automatically, and that you shouldn't be the one working it. Do you know what I mean? So I was just curious why you like to write it out.
I get very frustrated with online planners, and it's like it's just genuinely something that I lose patience with so quickly, because the way that I do it this way is that every week I'm doing this, like my Mondays every week look the same. And I like it that way. That's like it's in my head and it works that way, and it's just like easy and simple. And, if I decide, I need to have a doctor's appointment or something that's like, something that isn't a weekly occurrence or something, that's fine, like write it in. But I just like, I need this to be like a tangible thing, and writing it down helps me remember it. But I don't know. I have no patience for digital planners, and I can't get my planner and calendar to sync up, and it frustrates me. It literally frustrates me so much that I like get tempted to throw the electronic device across the room. I have zero patience for it. I can't do it. This looks, I know, I really am. It's just like, it pisses me off. I get so angry. I just like doing it this way. Why is paper so bad?
But you're cutting down trees to make it happen.
Okay, but I already owned this paper, and I had it in my thing way up there for like potentially years. So this paper has been chilling, been waiting to be used. But like some of these, I keep them like loose. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm going from this time to this time, I'm going to do this exact homework assignment. It's just more like, okay, starting at 4, I'm going to practice. Mm-hmm. And that will just go until whenever my day is done. Or like, one of them, like I have time set aside to film my YouTube video and stuff like that I need to do. But it's pretty loose. And I also keep in mind, like, if things need to be shifted, I shift it with something else on the same day. So like so if I'm studying Korean in the morning, but then in the morning my brain just like isn't working and I just can't get my brain to like load because it's too early, maybe I'll switch Korean with recording. And so then I'll record in the morning, and then when I get to the time in the afternoon that says record, I'll study Korean at that time. And I just like trade it tit for tat kind of thing.
Yeah. I think you're really good with that. I joke with you about having to write things down, but seriously, it is whatever works best for you. I think one thing that you do better than I do, which I hate to admit because I feel like I'm very organized, is that you actually schedule your day. I just have my task list of like, I got to get through all these tasks or they're going to run over and I've got more tasks scheduled for tomorrow. So I don't tend to work my schedule as much. I work my task list, but yeah, I think you do a great job with that. And I think it's really, really important to have one of those lists. I know your brother does not. And he's
boom, called out.
Called out. He's always like, I got it, Mom, I got it. And then I'll ask him how things go, and I go, oh, I forgot to do that. And I think, well, get a list, get an organizer, get something. So yeah, there's all sorts of ways. We finally got your father to get rid of his Franklins. Remember that funny big tub of Franklins that we had when we moved? We got rid of that, which is great. I personally just love my little organizer. Feel free to download it, called Any Plan. It's $6.99 or $7, something like that, on the Apple Store. And a lot of people would probably turn away from that, going, I'm not going to pay that much for an app. But if you think about going over to Office Depot or Staples or whatever and buying a planner, it's probably going to be $15-20, and it's only good for a year. This is good forever.
Yeah, but my paper was free.
You cut down a tree.
That paper was not an entire tree.
Okay, but you
and I did not do the chopping. I did the buying. Anyways, we're not going to get into the paper cut down conversation because that's going to trigger a whole bunch of people. But
I'm giving you a hard time. I think it's great.
Let's not get into that conversation.
I'm just teasing you. So I have to tell you about one little thing because I'm at the end of my stuff for today. But we were traveling. We've just relocated to Florida, as I was saying, and we drove a U-Haul. And I don't think I told you this. Did I tell you about the car we almost hit?
Maybe,
I don't know. We pulled in. We were driving the first day, and honest to God, we looked probably 2 weeks ahead of time. We were watching the weather because we could see that big storm that was hitting Texas, and hopefully anybody from Texas who's listening is safe and has come through the other end of that. But that was a terrible, terrible storm. We originally were looking at the Midwest route through Kansas and all that lot, and we thought, ooh, the roads looked really, really bad, so let's go down to Texas and go the southern route through Louisiana and all that. And then that storm hit, and we thought, we can't get through either way. This is not good. We're trying to get through. And so we found this one little window, and it was perfect. Talk about meant to be. It was perfect that it was hit one day, and that would be the day before we were getting to that place, and then it would hit this day, and then we'd get to it the next day. So we were like threading a needle to get through the Midwest, and we did it. And the worst weather we had was heading out of Denver, literally out of the U-Haul parking lot to get onto I-25 was the worst weather we had. And then we got through it and everything was great. But we were driving a U-Haul and towing my Honda behind on a flatbed because the Honda's got a lot of miles on it. We didn't want to drive it. So we thought, let's put it actually on a flatbed, not just tow it. And so we had this huge gray bed behind us. But we pulled into the first night we got to Kansas City, and we pulled into a hotel, and it had a tandem parking spot that we could pull forward and get it all the way and get the whole thing, the whole shebang into one parking spot. And we pulled in, and this was not me driving, but we were...
In short, it's all your dad's fault.
My dad, my husband. We pulled around this spot and we brought it in, and I hopped out of the passenger side, and it was like, oh, I'm so tired. And I looked around, and the way we pulled in, the front, this is the truck, this thing, and it pulled in straight, and the bed with the Honda is like this behind it because it didn't come around all the way. So we weren't really in the tandem spot. We were like this, and there was another car parked right here. And I'm not even kidding. We were inches, like probably that far from hitting this car. And I got out, and I felt like Doc, whatever his name is, Doc Brown from Back to the Future. I got out, and I was like, oh, great Scott! My heart just started pounding. We were so close, and not only were we close, but then we had to move it to get it out of there, and it was Oh my God, we were like, oh, what have we just done? We almost hit this car, but we got out of it. Fortunately, there was nobody off to our other side and we could kind of pull it out the other way. But it was, I'm not even kidding, like, everybody hold your breath because we're not going to hit this car. It's all good.
That's
and after
terrifying.
it actually was, because we didn't think that much about it the whole first day. Every time we pulled into a gas station, we didn't think about the back end of this thing. With this Honda sitting on a flatbed. So that the next day, every time we turned a corner, each of us had our heads sticking out the window. We were taking extra care. But we made it. We made it safely. We hit nothing.
That's a story that you can only tell, and it can only be funny because nothing bad happened.
That's right. Everything else was good except for, this is bad planning on my part. There's a mountain range called the Appalachians. Mm-hmm. You've heard of them, right?
Yes.
Turns out they cross the freeway that we were driving, and we didn't know it. We were looking on the maps, on a map app, and it didn't.
Oh, you did tell me this. You did tell me this.
We weren't looking at satellite. We were just looking at a map, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a clear shot. And we were heading through Tennessee, which, by the way, Tennessee, beautiful state. You need to get your roads fixed. Man, the potholes from border to border, it was crazy. Tennessee was so bad. And as soon as you cross over to Georgia, pristine. So bad roads in Tennessee. But the state of Tennessee was absolutely beautiful. Even Nashville, which was like a downtown kind of gritty area, it was still beautiful. But we were driving through outside of Nashville, and we didn't climb anywhere. We didn't go up any altitude that we realized. I guess it was such a gradual climb into the mountains we hadn't even realized. And we came out through this area and we were like, oh, I was taking pictures and posting everywhere. This is beautiful. And then we saw the sign that said the next 4 miles, a 6.4 grade downhill, use lower gears, all this kind of stuff. And we're towing a car on a flatbed. Scariest thing ever, because if you're driving and you try to hit your brakes or downshift, that flatbed can jackknife so easy, and it could pull you around. And the speed of it, especially if you slow down and the bed doesn't, it'll pull you down into a ditch. You can go backwards so fast. And we were on the downhill before we knew it. We were like, oh my God. For it, however long it took us to get down, neither one of us said a thing. We just sat there absolutely white-faced. I was holding on to the side, just all the way down this hill. And as soon as we got down, I burst into tears. I just like streaming down my face because I could not believe how scared I was that we were just going to end up in a ditch coming down that bad boy. So yeah, the Appalachians actually run through Nashville. Most people probably know that. I only just found that out. That was good. Yeah,
I wasn't even there, but just the idea of that makes me sick to my stomach.
You know, coming into Vail, we've done that a bazillion times. Coming into Vail, coming out.
You were saying it's the same.
Exactly the same, but you know you're going uphill, going into the Eisenhower Tunnel. We didn't know we were going uphill. We didn't feel anything till we were coming down. Terrifying. But yeah, a couple bad potholes. I had Mel on my lap on some of them, and we hit them so hard that she flew up in the air. big potholes. Yeah, one she even squealed. It was cute.
Wait, was she hurt?
No, not at all. She didn't hit her head. I mean, we had plenty of clearance, but she was on my lap.
Why did she squeal?
Because she went airborne. The potholes were huge in Tennessee. Huge.
That's weird. Oh.
We were bouncing around. I tried to video it, but my camera was like. Yeah. But it was good. We're safe, and the U-Haul is returned, and not a car was dented.
Very nice.
Not a tire was flattened.
And now
we just have Reg to deal with now.
Yeah.
So it's all good. And guess who has made an appearance here?
Oh, is it the dog in question?
It is the dog in question.
Oh, I hope you guys are watching on YouTube. Oh my goodness, what a cutie patootie. Oh, hi, Melody. She looks so confused. She's like, why am I vertical?
How's Reg? Have you said hello to him?
Hi, Bill. Hi, Mel Bill.
Look at the ears.
It literally looks like she's looking at me. Oh, how stinking cute. So, follow us on Girls Across the Pond on Instagram if you want to see more of Mel Bell.
Mel Bell. She's awesome. We have some things going on coming up, but not necessarily.
Before we do that, we have one more segment.
We do?
That you always skip. Our language learning segment.
Language. Foreign language has been tough for me this week. It's no excuse, but obviously packing and moving was a lot. But I was able to listen to quite a few learning things. And here's what I learned about Russian this week. Oh, I've got dog hair on my nose.
Nice.
I learned subject-verb agreements are very, very similar to how they are in English. So when you talk about I ate the apple, you will still say things like I ate, but you won't say connectors like an and the. You will just say I ate apple. It won't be I apple ate, which is kind of what you're running into, like the verbs and the
Korean
subject.
is subject, object, verb. I hamburger eat.
Or SVO, subject, verb, object. So that's good to know. And I went through a bunch of those. And then what was the other thing I just found out? I wasn't prepared for language. I forgot.
Did you look into the silent vowels? I'm curious.
I did not. I haven't had a chance to actually sit down. I don't even know where my Russian stuff is.
Oh, that's
We're sitting in so many boxes. But I did listen to quite a few podcasts or YouTube videos, actually, is what they were. And I am able to get on that 101 one that you told me about. There's a free version that I found. So more coming on that. What was the other thing? I thought, those are the two things I can talk about this week. Was the verb thing? Oh, the negatives. If you have a negative, like I don't want to eat this apple or whatever in American or English. Why do I always say in American?
Say in American?
Why do I say that?
I don't know.
You say the translation will be I don't want no whatever. So you'll hear a sentence and you'll hear that "niet" in there. No is "niet." So you'll say, I want "niet" apple. So I want no apple, kind of a thing. So I'm learning the grammar of it. And I also, the third video or podcast that I was listening to was a really good one because it put a lot of things in perspective for me. It was actually a symposium of polyglots. You would love it. But she was talking about the different ways people choose to learn languages, and you may already know this because you're so advanced with this kind of stuff.
Is it about input language learning? Is this about input language learning?
There were 8 different ways that she was suggesting, and she was saying that things that have worked for different polyglots that they were all talking about was either learning a little bit of it and then just going full immersion, just knowing enough to be dangerous, and then going full immersion. Then there was others that do like what you do, which is sit down and actually learn the mechanics of how to speak that language. And I'm actually
closer to the first.
Really? Mm-hmm. I would have thought. Because you're always.
I sit down and self-study, but the way I am with my Korean tutor is that I'm studying meticulously with a book to get out of beginner and into intermediate, and then for the rest of the grammar points, it's mostly learned through conversation.
Conversational, that's what she was talking about. She was saying, a lot of these things like the Rosetta Stone and Duolingo and things like that, they're okay, but they're just throwing words out there. So there's just not a lot of context to those, and she's kind of steering people away from that, which was good. So I hadn't really thought about the method of learning, and that put a lot of perspective into me. So because I have a workbook that I'm just kind of working through the alphabet still, because it's because it's not romanicized, it's a whole different alphabet. So I've got to still wrap my head around that. And my desk should be appearing this week, and I should be able to unpack some boxes and actually sit and do that, which will be great because the last 2 to 3 weeks of my life have been kind of chaos in trying to get this move together. But we're settled, and it feels really good. I don't know how long we'll be here, if this is it, or if we're just snowbirds. I have no idea. I don't know where I'm going to be, and I like it like that. How about you?
For me, I'm teaching a phrase that kind of goes along with the phrase I taught in the first episode, which, just to remind everybody, it's fighting. That was the first phrase. And this one's a little bit longer. In full speed, it's 할 수 있어요. And
God bless you.
Slowed down, 할 as one word, 수 as one word, and then the third word is 있어요. So 할 수 있어요. 할 수 있어요. And it means...
What's the first word?
할, romanized H,
yeah.
H-A-L.
Okay, 할. 할.
Yeah, 할 수 있어요. And it means you can do it.
Oh,
so
I like that.
It's said
what
commonly along. It's said commonly along with fighting. You can say fighting, 할 수 있어요, or in reverse, 할 수 있어요, fighting. And you can do this. You got it. I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for you. So that's another one that you say a lot. And you can also rephrase it and raise your tone at the end. 할 수 있어요, meaning you can do this. Like, oh, you're able to do blank. So you can put a word in front of it. I don't know, swimming. 수영, 할 수 있어요. You can swim. Can you swim? Are you able to swim? That's like what you're asking. And you can also say it with any language in front of it. And literally word for word what you're saying is, can you English, if you were to say that? But it means, are you able to speak English? So English...
I would say, can you American?
Yeah, English in Korean is 영어. Y-E-O-N-G-E-O. 영어. And it so you would be saying 영어 할 수 있어요. Can you speak English? Or Korean, 한국어 할 수 있어요. Can you speak Korean? Is what that phrase is. And for studying...
But didn't you... Wait a minute. Wait. Didn't you just ask, how are you doing? No, what is the 할 수 있어요?
할 수 있어요 means... 할 수 있어요 as a question is, can you do this?
Okay.
So,
as a statement, what is it?
할 수 있어요, you can do this. You've got this. I can do this. You can... Because there's no subject, so you're literally just saying, can do this. So it means I can do this, you can do this, you've got this, you can do it.
And you're changing the inflection at the end?
Yeah, if you raise it to if you raise the end, 할 수 있어요, it becomes a question, and it means
they do
can
that
you do
in Russian
this?
as well. I heard that in Russian, that you just do that inflection, but I haven't gotten that far.
You just do that if you don't have a subject. So it's the same way as like the example I use is tired in Korean is 피곤해요 in the present tense. That's just to be tired. So even though I don't say if I just wanted to say tired, I could just say 피곤해요, and it means I'm tired. But if I wanted to ask you if you were tired, you look a little sleepy, I'd be like, oh, 피곤해요? It means, are you tired?
Gotcha.
So it's that kind of thing. But as for studying techniques, recently I've been focused on shadow imitations, which basically is watching native speakers. So I've been watching a K-drama called Run On. It's on Netflix. And as the Korean speakers speak their lines, I listen to it, and then I have the subtitles on with the Korean subs on. So then I'll take it and I'll say it slowly so that I know each word, and then I imitate their inflection and tones, and then I try and say it at the same time as them another time through in the same tonality with them. So that's what I've been focused on, is shadowing.
Nice. The symposium I was listening to said that as well, and I was thinking about RM and watching Friends, because I thought, that's exactly what that is. Just knowing what the show is in your language and then watching it in the other.
Yeah, well, it's not just necessarily watching it in the other language, because a great resource if you have Netflix is it just changed the name, but it's a browser extension, and it used to be called Learn Languages with Netflix. I'm not sure what it's called anymore, but you can look it up under the browser extensions under that name, and it'll still come up. But it basically hooks up to your Netflix account, and any program that you watch in your target language, so for me it would be a K-drama if you want to watch a Russian film, it'll come up with the Korean subtitles first, and then underneath is the translation. But you can hover over any of the Korean subtitles, and it'll just tell you what that specific word means.
Oh, nice.
So you can just kind of piece it apart. So while watching in your target language, just like for immersion purposes, is good, having the subtitles and then mimicking how people are speaking, especially if it's a formality-based language, which I'm not sure if Russian is, but I'm pretty sure it is. Knowing like, in this situation, these two characters are speaking informally with each other. So, or in this situation, only this character is speaking formally and the other person's using informal speech. How does that work? What is their status that's causing that to happen or whatever?
More info to follow.
Just good things to think about.
I know. I was actually, even though I didn't get very far this week, obviously, I was very pleased that I got as far as I did because we were so nomadic, moving around.
Yeah, good job.
So,
There
there you go. So yes, I'm excited to progress this week. Okay, so that is all we have for now. Our teasers of upcoming things. We have ASMR and misophemia. Misophenia. I want to talk about that because I think I have that. That's bad. It's so annoying. Misophenia.
Guess we'll find out together.
I know. Why the UK is the best place to live versus why is the US the best place to live? Dun dun dun.
That's a segment. I did not consent to filming that segment.
I will just interject that. Plus, we have a couple other surprise things that are coming up. I would like to have a discussion about the Beatles very soon.
I'm
the Beatles.
100% there for that conversation.
I know, everybody loves the Beatles. I was curious as to why the Beatles were so great and why they were such a landmark band, as opposed to The Who and the Rolling Stones and all those other bands that are great. But why do the Beatles stand out more than the other ones? So I'd like to chat about that. And that is all I have, folks.
Thanks for listening. We really appreciate you sticking with us, especially during all these technical difficulties. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode. If you're listening on any podcast streaming service, make sure you're following us so that you can get updates on our uploads. And if you're watching us on YouTube, talking with each other face to face, thanks for being here. Make sure to subscribe, and you will have to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a single one of our uploads. And make sure you're following us on all of our socials. You can find it on some link on whatever platform you're on. There will be a link to both our Facebook page and our Instagram page. We'd love for you to check us out over there and send us some comments, say hi so that we know that you're listening, and we appreciate you.
There you go. All right. Chat with you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.